True love is born from understanding. But when a relationship ends and the heart breaks, it can feel as though love itself has abandoned us, and understanding seems an even longer way off. Love is like morning mist on a mountain, soft, peaceful, and feels everlasting. But as the sun comes up, the mist fades away, showing the hard stone underneath. This raises the question, why does love change? Why do people who once looked at you with love suddenly turn away with cold indifference in Zen and Buddhist? Thought impermanence, anicca, is a basic truth of life. Everything, including feelings, relationships, and connections, can change. The Buddha taught that just like a river flows and doesn't hold onto its banks, our hearts also move from one feeling to another. When someone stops loving you, they don't make a big announcement. Instead, they usually do two things. Two quiet but meaningful acts show the end of something old. To understand them, let's look at a Zen story about love, loss, and the wisdom of letting go. The story of falling leaves. Once there was a thoughtful traveler who lived to understand love. He had loved deeply and believed it would last forever. But one day, the person he loved began to change. At first it was small, like a leaf falling before autumn. But soon, the changes became clear. They talked less and shared fewer looks, and the space between them became heavy with unspoken feelings. The traveler went to an old monk who lived in the mountains, a man whose presence was like still water calm, reflective and full of hidden depths. Master, the traveler said, I worry that love is slipping away. The person who used to be with me now moves on without caring if I follow. What have I done wrong? The old monk shut his eyes for a moment and then began to speak. When love fades, it doesn't disappear suddenly, like smoke. Instead, it slowly pulls away, like the tide revealing the shore that's always been there. When people stop loving you, they usually do two things. They distance themselves and they stop being around you. A monk took a traveler to a small garden with a tall tree that had broad branches, offering shade. A young bird sat in a tree, happily chirping. Do you see that bird? The monk asked. The traveler nodded. Then the monk waved his hand gently, and the bird, sensing something, flew away. Love, the monk said, is like this bird. When it feels safe, it stays and sings with you. But when love starts to fade, it pulls away slowly at first. When someone starts to lose their love for you, they may sit close, but their laughing might not be as carefree. Their words will no longer come easily, but will come out slowly, like the last drops from an empty jug. This is a sign that they are holding back, even if they are still physically present. The traveler frowned and wondered why they didn't just explain the slow withdrawal. The monk smiled kindly and said that they were still learning too. Love doesn't go away suddenly. It fades gradually like the last embers of a dying fire. A person doesn't just wake up and stop loving. Instead, they slowly come to understand it over time, as their heart quietly starts to move on while their body stays in place. The traveler felt sad and wondered what to do. Should he run after them or ask them to stay? The monk shook his head and said, Would you chase after a bird that has flown away? Would you ask a tree to keep its falling leaves? No, my dear traveler. When love leaves, don't chase after it. Instead, respect its departure. Love that is pushed to stay isn't true love. It becomes trapped in your heart. The traveler sighed, feeling the weight of the monk's words settle in his chest, but he was not yet happy. The second thing he asked, what else do people do when love fades? They become someone else. The monk took the traveler deeper into the garden, to a calm, clear pond that reflected the sky. Look into the water, the monk said. The traveler leaned down and saw his own reflection. It looked familiar, but also a little different because of the ripples. Then the monk picked up a small stone and dropped it into the pond. The water shook, and the reflection changed into a strange, distorted image. When someone stops loving you, the monk explained, they don't just leave, they change into someone else. The person who used to laugh at your jokes and enjoy being with you now feels like a stranger. They still look the same, but their feelings have changed. Their words no longer feel warm, and their touch no longer matters. This is the second sign that the person you knew is gone and has been replaced by someone else. The traveler clenched his hands and asked how love can change a person so much. The monk responded with great patience, explaining that love is about connection. When people love, they become linked, like two trees growing together. But when love fades, they separate and look for new experiences. The person you see now is not the same one who loved you. They have changed, and it's normal to feel sorrow for the person they used to be. The traveler's eyes filled with tears. He then asked what someone should do when this happens and how to cope with such a loss. The monk took a deep breath, feeling the traveler's sadness, and then breathed out calmness. You don't need to do anything, he said. Just accept. The traveler, his voice trembling, replied, Yes. Accept what? Accept that everything changes, the monk explained. Understand that love changes like the seasons. Don't chase after what is going away, and don't grieve what has already changed. Instead, be still, like a calm pond when the ripples go away, and you will see the truth. The traveler whispered, What is the truth? The monk smiled, his eyes showing a deep understanding. The truth is that love does not belong to you. It never did. It flows through you. Visits you, changes you, but it is not yours. When love ends, don't try to hold on to it. Instead, acknowledge it. Be grateful for the time you had, and let it go, just like the last leaf in autumn. The traveler wiped his tears and looked at the pond as the water calmed down. He realized that love is not something you can own. It's like a visitor. When it leaves, you shouldn't try to hold it back. Instead, you should let it go gracefully. The understanding of change. The traveler's journey didn't finish at the monastery, nor did he stop learning from the monk. The road ahead of him was long, filled with memories and desires. As he walked, he noticed each step felt lighter than the last. While the heaviness of loss was still there, it felt different, softer and manageable. What changed wasn't the pain of losing love or the fact of being left behind, but his view of love itself. He learned not to see love as something to own or lose, but rather as the monk described, like a river, a bird, or a season in Zen teachings. Suffering comes from our desire to cling to things that are temporary. We want things to last in a world where nothing does. We seek safety in a place where everything changes. This is why losing love hurts so much. We feel like we've lost something that should have lasted forever. But the truth is, love was never ours to keep. Let's explore this idea more. The two signs the monk mentioned, pulling back and becoming someone else, are not cruel or betrayal. They are just part of how relationships change over time. The first sign is when someone stops being present as love fades. People tend to retreat and stop connecting, and this absence can hurt. However, this pain can teach us that love is about actions, not just words. If someone no longer wants to be with you, they have already moved on in their heart. But this withdrawal can also be seen as a gift from the universe, encouraging you to let go. It shows that love can't be forced or demanded. If someone is no longer present in your life, don't chase after them. Instead, turn your focus inward. Confront your pain instead of avoiding it. Understand it, and this will help you heal. The process of becoming someone else can be very painful. It's not just about feeling distant. It also means changing who you are. The person who used to love you and understand you now feels unfamiliar. They laugh at different things, talk in a different way, and have a life that doesn't include you anymore. This happens because love changes us. When two people are in love, they share experiences and feelings that shape who they are. But when love fades, they start to change again, this time away from you. This change isn't meant to hurt you. It's just a part of life. Just like a caterpillar doesn't stay a caterpillar forever, people don't stay the same, emotionally either. Sometimes they grow together, and sometimes they grow apart. When you see this change, don't fight it. Don't try to bring back who they used to be. That person is gone. Instead, accept who they have become, and let them follow their own path. Here are some steps to let go without feeling bitter. 1. Acknowledge your feelings. Recognize and accept your emotions instead of pushing them away. 2. Reflect on the experience. Think about what happened and what you learned from it. 3. Focus on the positive. Try to find good aspects in the situation or what came. One of the biggest hurdles of loving something that doesn't last is learning to let go without feeling angry, resentful, or unhappy. Buddhist wisdom says that being resentful is like holding a hot coal with plans to throw it at someone else. You're the one who ends up getting hurt. So how can we let go of love when it's no longer there? First, appreciate what you had instead of just feeling sad about losing it. Remember the good times and be thankful for them. Second, if someone has pulled away their love, don't try to chase after them. Letting go is better than making yourself unhappy by trying to hold on. Let go of the idea that love means possession. You can love someone and still set them free. True love wants them to be happy, even if it's without you. When we lose love, we often feel like we've lost a part of ourselves, but that's not true. We are still whole. Love didn't complete us. It just showed the love we already had inside. In the end, love doesn't disappear. It changes form as our journey continues. The traveler arrived at a big river and stood by its edge, watching the water flow endlessly. He thought about someone who had left him and felt the pain and longing, wondering why. As he looked at the river, he realized that love hadn't disappeared. It had just changed. The love he once felt had turned into a lesson, a memory, and a part of his growth. Even though it was gone, it had shaped him. The love he used to see in someone else's eyes was now reflected in his own. Love hadn't died. It had just moved, as everything does. With this understanding, the traveler didn't cry or feel sad. Instead, he honored love in all its forms. He moved on, accepting love wherever it appeared, and however it faded away. Love isn't something to keep, it's something to experience.